We see leaves every single day, right? But have you ever really stopped to think about what it takes to build one? It is a masterpiece of biological engineering, and it's all put together using a hidden molecular blueprint. So in this explainer, we're going to decode that very blueprint.
It really is a fascinating question, isn't it? How on earth does a plant, with no brain, no central command center, build these incredibly complex, super efficient solar panels? It honestly seems impossible. But it all comes down to a really elegant, self-organizing microscopic process.
So where does a journey like this even begin? Well, the entire process, from a tiny little bud to a full-grown leaf, kicks off in one very specific place. You can think of it as the plant's master control center.
And that control center has a name, the shoot-apical meristem, or just SAM for short. The best way to picture it is like a tiny, non-stop construction site at the very tip of every growing branch. It's just packed with powerful stem cells, all waiting to get their next big assignment, build a leaf.
And that construction project follows a pretty strict four-stage plan. First, a group of cells gets designated for the job. Second, the basic 3D orientation gets locked in, top from bottom. Third, the flat blade itself is built out. And finally, the whole thing just expands to its full size. So let's see how the plant tackles that first big challenge.
So right off the bat, the plant has to solve a spatial puzzle. Where exactly on the stem should a brand new leaf start to grow? And believe me, the answer is anything but random.
This incredibly precise placement is all governed by a principle called Phyllotaxis. You can think of it as a natural algorithm that makes sure each new leaf pops up as far away as possible from its neighbors. This is all about maximizing sunlight. But how does the plant achieve such perfect spacing without a tiny ruler? Okay, now this slide might look a little complicated, but it shows us the secret ingredient, a hormone called auxin. See those green swirls? That's auxin being pumped out by the existing leaves. That hormone creates a chemical keep-out zone all around them. A new leaf can only start to grow in the one spot where the auxin concentration is the lowest. It's a really beautiful, simple system of just chemical avoidance.
And this self-organizing system is so precise that in a lot of plants, the angle from one leaf to the next is almost always exactly 137.5 degrees. That's actually known as the golden angle. It's just a stunning example of complex math just naturally emerging from simple biological rules.
All right, so the plant has picked the perfect spot. Now for the next crucial step. This little leaf bud has to figure out which way is up. It basically needs to set up its own internal 3D coordinate system.
And this image here shows the three critical directions the leaf has to define. You've got the top to bottom axis, the base to tip axis, and finally the center to edge axis. Getting this 3D orientation right from the start is absolutely fundamental to building a flat, functional leaf.
So how does the leaf know top from bottom? Well, it all comes down to a molecular tug-of-war. You've got one set of genes, here in the orange box, that are essentially shouting, "We are the top side," and at the same time, another set, in the green box, is shouting, "No, we are the bottom side." They actually fight to suppress each other. Whichever team wins out in a particular layer of cells determines if it becomes the top or bottom surface. It's a genetic battle for identity. Okay, with its location picked and its orientation set, the little leaf can now start building out its internal infrastructure. We're talking about the veins, its plumbing system, and the flat blade that's going to become its solar panel. And hey, look who's back! It's our old friend auxin. The very same hormone that positions the leaf now gets a second job, directing where the veins go. Channels of high auxin concentration basically draw the blueprint for the main midvein and all the branching side veins. It creates this perfect delivery system for water and nutrients. But what about the final shape? Why does an oak leaf look so different from, say, a fern? Well, it mostly comes down to a simple genetic on-off switch. For a simple leaf like an oak, a grow program gets shut off at the edges, which makes one solid blade. But for a compound leaf like a fern, that same exact program gets turned back on at specific points along the edge, and that's what creates all those individual leaflets.
So the basic structure is there, but a leaf is nowhere near finished. It still needs to install all the specialized equipment on its surface so it can breathe, regulate water, and even defend itself.
First up on the equipment list are stomata. These are millions and millions of tiny, adjustable pores that cover the leaf's surface, and they are absolutely critical. They let the leaf breathe in the carbon dioxide it needs for photosynthesis and release oxygen and water vapor.
And the construction of these pores follows this really elegant genetic command chain. It's like a three-step assembly line. As the diagram shows, one protein kicks the whole process off. Then it hands the job over to a second protein, which continues development. And finally, a third protein comes in to finish the job. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
And right here, you can see the end result of that genetic program in action. A single mother cell divides to form the two guard cells, and those two cells create the pore. This process is just repeated over and over again all across the leaf surface, building a whole network for gas exchange.
Now, the other special piece of equipment is trichomes. You've probably heard of them as leaf hairs. These tiny hairs can help defend the plant from insects or even reduce water loss. And their development is triggered by a really simple molecular switch. When the three proteins you see here come together, they form a complex that just flips the on switch, telling that one specific cell, okay, your job is to grow into a hair.
And the result of all these complex, layered processes is the absolutely incredible diversity of levers we see all around us. In fact, these patterns are so consistent and unique that, as the source material points out, we can often identify an entire plant species just by looking at one of its leaves.
So in the end, the plant's toolkit is just remarkably elegant. It's not using a physical blueprint, but a dynamic one. It's made of chemical GPS signals like auxin, whole networks of genetic on and off switches, and this constant chatter between cells that gives each one the information it needs to know where it is and what to do. Which, of course, leaves us with one final big thought. By truly understanding this molecular blueprint, we're not just satisfying our own curiosity. We're opening the door to potentially designing crops with more efficient leaves, plants that are better adapted to a changing climate, and better able to feed our world. The secret is right there, in every single leaf around us.